Hello my friends and welcome back. I'm Chisco Gaming, and in today's video I want to share with you the biggest mistakes that new players make in Whiteout Survival. And I would know all about those because I just finished my first month of gameplay. I'm up to 57.7 million power because yes, I've been whaling through the early game and I've been playing this genre for the last 6 years. So this video I'm going to break down into two major parts. The first part is Whiteout Survival specific guidance. The second part is applicable to Whiteout Survival, but it's common knowledge for this genre that if you didn't know it, you'll be really happy I shared it with you. Things like, for example, don't open all your resource tokens. Probably a bad idea. We'll talk about why that is in the second half of the video, all right? So let's go over the top 9 mistakes that new players make, starting with number 1, and I was guilty of this, which is that I went in and I leveled up more than 5 heroes. Well, wait a minute. Why would that be a problem? Don't you want to use more than 5 heroes? So at Furnace level 13, you get this really cool thing called the Drill Camp. The Drill Camp elevates the level of every hero you put in this section down here to the level of your 5 highest level heroes. In fact, the exact way that it works is it takes your 5 highest level heroes, pick the hero that is the lowest level, in this case 71, and it makes all these guys that level. So you only ever need to level up 5 heroes, and if you're like, oh, it's not that big a deal, yes it is. Funnel all your experience into these, whichever 5 heroes you want to pick. Doesn't need to be this 5 set of heroes. I would recommend picking the heroes that you use, for example, in Arena, or your main composition to go and battle out in the field, and that is what I would recommend. Now, don't worry if you put your experience other places. You can reset the level of heroes, so just reset them and pick 5, and you're good to go, all right? Simple solution, easy to make that mistake. Consider subscribing if you're getting value from this video. Up next, the second biggest mistake that you might go and make is not skilling up the heroes that you might not have been planning to use, but they actually have economic benefit. Let me explain. One of the best SR heroes is right over here, Jasser. Why? Well, he's got this skill that gives you a research speed boost. 15% research speed when maxed out is amazing. These are passive benefits that apply all the time as soon as you unlock the skill to that level. So this is a big deal. Okay, work on this incrementally. You can only unlock new levels of this skill over here, or any of the skills on a hero, by having the prior star level unlocked. In other words, if you want skill level 5, you need star level 4. If you want skill level 4, you need star level 3. Get the idea? All right. So not only is there Jasser, awesome, but also you've got other heroes like, for example, scrolling on down, right over here on Siu Yun, you've got healing speed. That's a nice one, not as critical. Here you get training speed. Initially, this will not be as critical, and later on, once you can train for like 10 plus hours at a time, so you can, go to sleep at night and have stuff train overnight. I guess 10 hours is very optimistic. That's beyond optimistic. It's like 8 hours or 6 hours, or, it depends on how many kids you have, right? So over here, training speed, huge. And one of the most popular is, of course, the legendary Xin Man, because he's got a building speed boost and also a cost reduction. Massive. So definitely do not skip out on these economic benefits, even if you don't plan to be using the heroes for combat. Remember that the left portion of the screen is for exploration for those skills. These are for expedition on the right-hand side, and these green hammers mean that they're applicable most of the time. I say most of the time because, some of them are all of the time, but people keep telling me, I don't know if this is true or not, I gotta go test it, that the gathering speed boosts you get on the blue commanders, here is a passive boost all the time, coal mine income, but this one, gathering speed, they tell me that you have to have them in the army. Whether or not that's true, not really the point of this video. The point is, don't skip out on these economic skills. It'd be easy to overlook them because you don't realize they're sort of passive benefits that apply all the time. Before you do big research or big training or big building upgrades, make sure you double check you can't do a few upgrades and save yourself some speed ups. This is a big deal, all right? Now, the next thing that we need to talk about, error or mistake number 3, is not focusing on 3 heroes primarily. And that's going to be your main army that you use when you're out in the world and potentially also in arena and exploration and other game modes. Why do I say that? Because on your main army, you need to have one of each troop type represented. You need to have an infantry hero. I'm using Geronimo at this point. You need to have a Lancer. I'm using Molly, and you probably should too, regardless of your level of spend. And then also I've got Xin Man as my marksman hero. Okay, when you send an army out in the world, you need one hero from each troop type. Each of these heroes, by the way, is contributing stats that you can see down over here, and each hero only contributes stats for their troop type. So Zinman's only giving you marksman stats in this portion of the screen over here, all right? You've got Geronimo over here, like I mentioned, only gives you the infantry stats over here. So you want to focus, okay, your investment into 3 heroes, ideally, one of each troop type, so that you can progress through content more easily. They also can be on the wall for your city to defend you, but also it's not just the hero themselves in terms of their skills and their stars, but also we need to talk about the gear. At some point, you'll start to unlock this gear. You don't want to have lots of gear leveled up for lots of different heroes. You want to focus your investments ideally on 3 to start, maybe 5 for your arena team. If you don't have this gear yet, don't worry about it. You're not at that point in the game. When you get there, you'll know what to do, and you're welcome. And even then, some people would argue I'm making a mistake here. I should focus even more for this gear on infantry having not lethality stat boosts, which would be the the goggles and the boots, but instead go for the health boosts, which are on the belt and the gloves. Okay, back to a more simple topic. Focus on 3 hero investments to start, one of each troop type. The next huge mistake, and I made this mistake. This is technically mistake number 5. I just did 2 combined. One was be smart about your gear, and the other was to focus your investments in a small number of heroes. Anyways, let's talk about chief orders, all right? Once your furnace gets high enough, you unlock this building over here. It's the chief's house. Chief's house lets you do these chief's orders. They are massive. I did not realize that you 100% free to play are going to get so much of the currency that you're going to need over here to activate these. It's this right up here in the upper right, contentment. You get it from your survivors working, which is going to happen passively and very easily. This double time buff is insane. 20% reduction to the building time. Massive, okay? Massive. You absolutely want to use this every single day before you queue up new buildings. And sometimes it's worth speeding up a building so that the timing aligns, so that it's okay, now I'm going to pop double time again. It's that time of day where I pop double time and I queue up buildings that are going to take a day, right? And you may not be at that point initially, but also certain buildings you should always speed up. Let me just clarify this really quickly. Pro tip. All right, here you go. It is the troop training buildings and the research center. You should always speed up upgrades to these buildings. Why? Because you can't train troops or do research when those buildings are upgrading, which means that all the time you speed up, when you speed up one of those buildings, means you will not only finish the upgrade sooner, but you start training your troops sooner or start doing research sooner. So you get literally double value for your speed ups, because instead of waiting for, let's call it 5 hours, and then you can start training again, instead, you not only finish the building 5 hours sooner, but now for that 5 hour time frame, you can be training troops. Massive. Or doing research, right? And you ideally want to pop double time before you do it, because if you're going to speed up the building anyways, may as well get the huge reduction, right? And ideally, you wait for helps, okay, before you go and you speed things up. But once you have double time active, okay, yeah, get a few helps and then just speed it up. It doesn't matter, right? Because the benefit of the 20% is going to be better than the help time reduction, depending on the sort of levels of the buildings. But for the most part, I think that will generally be true, all right? So double time, absolutely freaking massive. Which brings us to mistake number 6. This little building over here is called the lighthouse. And when there's quests for you, they're going to show up in here. These quests are super high value. Do them. There's so many good rewards that you get from this. It's actually crazy. This is the best way to be spending those tuna cans up top, your stamina. Technically, you don't have to use any of your tuna cans to go and do this. You just use your open sort of recovering stamina. Stamina is visible in the upper left. It's the green bar. You can see it down over here. My green bar is low because I just spent a bunch of it, which is what you should be doing too. Spend your stamina, okay? And the majority of that, ideally, is going toward your lighthouse quests. Always, always push on those. The one quest that will eventually become too difficult is this sort of glowing, fiery boss one over here. I think it's called a master bounty. That is too difficult for me right now, and so I can't do it because it's just actually level of difficulty is too high. All right. So this building, by the way, is going to level up. You can see I'm at level 19. I don't know what the max level is. I'm on my way to level 20 though. And you just complete intel missions in order to progress the level. And then you get better and better stuff. Do that. Seems good. right? Yes, do this. Number 7. By the way, you can get legendary hero shards in here. Like, it's crazy. They give so much value, it's nuts. Number 7 mistake is not leveling up the amenities for your survivors. And you might be like, the amenities for your survivors? So if you go into your shelter, okay, you're going to need to do some amount of upgrades to these things in order to get to the next upgrade level, right? But there's a few little bonus things in here that are going to require a special resource. It's going to be steel in order to upgrade. You don't want to ignore these. Now, I did for a long time, and then my workers were going on strike. And then when my workers were on strike, I got less productivity. So you're going to want to, at some point, go back and upgrade some of these. I took mine to 20, and my workers are still going on strike. Bro, they're so picky. I don't even know what to do with them anymore. But that's a topic for a separate video. I've upgraded literally every one of these like sort of special amenities to the max level to try to make them happy again. But bro, I don't know what I've done. I have really pissed off my survivors, and it's not from my chief orders, which, by the way, that would be a mistake to constantly be using like productivity day and urgent mobilization and piss all your people off. I can just pop rush job though. That's just straight value. Gives 5 days worth of resources. A lot of people pop those other ones first. I talked about this in my chief orders video, separate video entirely. Basically what you do is you use urgent mobilization, which is going to piss your people off, but give you extra productivity. And then you go over here and you do the same thing in productivity day, same story. And then you go pop rush job. And once that's all done, you pop festivities to try to be like, no, it was okay that I made you work, to like the edge of your limits here. We're going to have a party day, right? That's what that is. My people are still freaking rioting over that. So anyways, I'm just going to stick to giving them party days. Let them have their fun. Anyways, this brings us to mistake number 8, joining rallies with the wrong commander. This is a way bigger deal than you would think. As a brand new player, this is all going to sound like very new to you potentially, but if you're an experienced player, shout out, drop a comment if you've got any other tips and tricks here. If we zoom out to the map and I look at this rally, I can get a look at who's here and I can see who's joined it. And I see all the stat bonuses from the rally captain, the skills on the rally captain, the exclusive hero gear skills. But these 4 skills are contributed by the people who joined the rally. This is a big deal. Whether you rally or garrison, this is true. Even reinforcing a friend's city, this is true. Where you are going to contribute as a joiner, potentially one of your skills. Which skill gets contributed? It is the first hero in your lineup, and it is their first skill. In other words, if I were to run this army out, let's just occupy. If this was what I reinforced the rally with, it would be Geronimo all the way on the left, and it would be his first expedition skill that would contribute, okay? And I can show you what that would be. I go to his skills, this one, which as it turns out for joining a rally would be really good. But why am I telling you this? You're going to have something called the bear trap that your alliance does together. It is going to matter a lot what you join rallies with. Maybe not on day one, but later on it will. And later on, this is going to matter a ton. What makes this game fun, in part, is you contribute to the success of the rally, not only by being the rally lead, but also by being a rally joiner, which is kind of cool that like even the people joining the rally, not just the person setting the rally, will determine in a very major way how successful the rally is or is not. Because as you can see, this one skill is contributing a 25% damage bonus. So 4 people contributing a 25% damage bonus, a 100% damage bonus. Is that a big deal? Yes, obviously. And it may not stack in exactly that way, but the point is still sound, which is that you give major bonuses by virtue of joining with the right heroes. So your alliance leadership should give you direction on who to join rallies with. I can tell you now, just a few that we've directed our sort of people to join rallies with would include the number 1 is Jesse that we recommend for the damage boost. Okay. We also recommend Jasser for the damage boost. All right. Another one that you can use is, I think it's not Ling Zhu. Hold up. Here she is. Siyun gives an attack boost. You get the idea here. For garrisoning, you want to be using heroes like Patrick, health up, big deal. Okay, makes you very tanky. It seems to be the case that when you're defending, you want tanky stats. When you're attacking, you want blasty stats. I don't know. Seems fairly straightforward, but I want to dig into that more, which I will do later. I'm in my first month. I've been taking in a lot here. And this brings us to the 9th biggest mistake that I see new players making, which is not rushing some amount of VIP. Let me explain. There are some really powerful VIP boosts. And if you're going to use a bunch of speed ups, if you're going to blast through a bunch of buildings, like you may as well at least get to VIP 4 for a construction speed boost. I'm like, yeah, even if you have to spend gems to do it, spend your gems on this. What are we talking about? Like you're basically buying speed ups with your gems in the form of a construction speed boost, right? So I think it is super, super worth having some amount of construction speed boost, which you get at VIP 4. Also, you get an extra squad that you can run around with at VIP 5. And then, it's my bad. Squads is the number of troops that are in your army for exploration. This over here, March queue, that's what I meant. VIP 6 is when you get another queue to run around in the world with. You want to get there. And then let's see here at, VIP 8 gives another squad boost. VIP 9 gives defense and also another 10% construction speed. Yeah, but VIP 9, it takes a lot more to get there. So really just like VIP 4 early rush seems super worth to me for the construction speed boost, right? Just that is like, yeah, you don't have to go further, but that seems super worth. The other thing is that, of course, you get a daily benefit, and your daily benefit improves as your VIP goes up. VIP 7 is when you start getting a legendary shard every day, which is a big deal. VIP 8, you start to get different books. VIP 9, you get 2. They're not legendary, they're mythic. They're mythic hero shards every day. 10 is just giving you a couple more manuals over here. But if you're also rushing and spending, the VIP heroes are very good. You're going to use Natalia for a long time for the bear trap, I'm told. She's very, very good. But also, Geronimo is supposed to be incredibly good until, I'm told, the 7th generation of heroes, which is a long ways away. So he's one of like the best investments sort of long term if you're going to be rallying. So long story short, okay, I think that rushing VIP is a great plan. Those are the 9 biggest mistakes that I think a lot of new players might be making in the early game based on my experience just blasting through the early game. Now, the next thing I'm going to blast through, by the way, is like 8 common mistakes made in this genre of game, city building war game, all right? And I'll explain them very, very quickly, and we'll run through it for you. The first mistake is going to be opening your resource tokens just because you don't like them in the bag. You just want to have them open. Bro, you can just open them practically automatically as you go. If you open all your resources, the ones that aren't safe can be stolen. That's bad. And you're just going to make people want to attack you because you have lots of resources open. Don't do that. Mistake number 2. Common in this genre, with the exception of powering up in like your first week, which you should go nuts. Like, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but you want to power up a ton. Use, in my opinion, everything you can to get into the number 1 alliance in your server. Why? Because your alliance is going to be a multiplier for your success. And failing having any other information about you as a human, your alliance is going to look and say, well, what's their power and activity look like? And before you remember, all they have is your power. So boost your power so that you're attractive to top alliances. Then you get in that top alliance and you stay there with your activity and your charm and your lovely personality, right? Even if you're not a top player or spender, like it doesn't matter. Like once you're in, you're in. We have plenty of people that are in our alliance that are like free to play, big chilling, and they're just delightful members of this community. And like once you're in, like it would take a lot for someone to want to kick you out, right? So get into a top alliance and be a good contributor. This is a massive multiplier for the success of your alliance. Speaking of which, very common knowledge, but if you're not donating to your alliance's technology, you absolutely should. So when you donate to the things that have a check mark, the little thumbs up green next to it, you get bonus resources, which is, or rather bonus donation contribution, which is big. But also your alliance technology is insanely valuable. Building speed, research speed, troop training speed, help amount, I think it's quantity of help time reduction. Anyways, really, really, really powerful stuff. Donate to this alliance technology. And by the way, that gives you a currency that you can spend in this shop This shop has a daily refresh and also a weekly refresh. For the daily refresh, I like to take things that are like 40% off or higher, and it depends on what it is. I obviously have a lot of this currency because I'm, contributing pretty majorly. But full price things I do not typically buy, and I'm typically looking for speed ups, VIP, especially teleports that are at a discount, and that's what I'm getting here. All right, which brings us to mistake number 4. Mistake number 4 is that unless you've got the chief order for building speed, it's worth waiting for helps. Like, just wait for helps before you start speeding stuff up. I know that seems really silly, but like if you're new to the genre, helps reduce the time it takes for something to happen. That's building, research, healing as the main things. Actually, maybe that's all the things. And if you look at your embassy, go to the details, it'll tell you how much time you save. So every help is saving me this much time. Seems good, right? So you just wait for helps. Be in an active alliance, wait for helps before you speed stuff up. All right, mistake number 5 is not following your quests for progression. So you're going to have a bunch of quests. I've already done the majority of those initial quests, but I still have main growth missions and side missions. These give me a shocking amount of hero experience, which I am very much enjoying. So I'm following along with the things the game is telling me to do over here, and you should as well. All right, up next, huge mistake, not upgrading your hospital. Why? Because if your hospital gets full and there's not room anymore, your troops start to die. That's bad. So upgrade your hospital. That will give you more hospital capacity. There's also, I think, research and other things that will help you get more hospital capacity, but you're going to want to increase your hospital capacity, which brings me to the next mistake, which is that, okay, so one way you can make sure your hospital doesn't overflow is to increase the capacity of the hospital. But the next thing you can do is to upgrade your low tiers of troops to high tiers of troops. If you have low tiers of troops sitting around in large numbers, that's bad. You'd rather upgrade the low tier to the high tier. That way you're not having more total troop count in your city, which would increase the chance of your hospital overflowing. There are games where you want low tier troops as fodder. This is not one of them. And I think that's a good thing. I prefer this design. So upgrade your low tier of troops to higher tier of troops. And the final mistake for this genre, very commonly made, is not keeping your building and research speed and troop training queues running 24/7. What do I mean by that? I mean, if I'm about to go to bed, I would never sit here and say, oh man, 4 hours left on this training. Well, I guess it'll just finish in the middle of the night, and when I wake up, I'll start it again. Hell no. I'm going to speed those up, bro, and then queue it up fresh so that I get a full 11 hours on the queue, and there's no wasted time, right? You can think of like time that would have been wasted overnight as like a free speed up. You want these queues running 24/7. I know it's not a free speed up. I know that's not how that works, but like, as an example, this research speed, if it were to finish in the middle of the night, that means that building is idle, doing nothing for me. So I would rather, right before bed, speed it up, queue something that's going to last throughout the entirety of the night, and ideally longer, so I have some grace time when I wake up. And that way, your building queues, your research queues, your troop training queues are running 24/7. Now, initially, the troop training queues are going to get it's going to be very difficult to get them to go for a long enough time that you can actually even just sleep a full night without wasted time. And it just is what it is. But as you level up these buildings, you are going to get more training capacity. And also there's research or training capacity, which gosh, I don't know. The final tip, okay, is that you should not ignore your growth research. This would be a catastrophic error, but it's very common knowledge for this genre. This turns into I guess now it's 18 tips. 9 that are game specific and 9 that are genre specific. This is the final genre specific tip, which is that building speed, research speed, training speed is insanely valuable in this game. And ideally, you are pushing on that research as fast as you can so that you benefit dramatically from the impact of it as soon as possible. And I feel like that only slows down once you get all the way down over here. What is it? Tooling up 6. Yeah, I mean, this is going to take 6 days and 20 hours. I feel like some of this research at this point is more geared toward things that will come into the end game, where you can go past furnace level 30, sort of. I believe you need fire crystals. I'm not there yet. But some of this stuff down here, it's okay, the time to do this stuff is so long that the amount of time you save may or may not actually be offset by the amount of speeds you're going to have to use to get there, right? And like, you do want these things, but like they just get really, really, really pricey. And I may have been a little inefficient here, but like, I think the point stands, which is that especially in the early part of the tree in the early game, push that building speed and research speed as much as you can. Go back for your battle technology later, and hopefully by being in a top alliance, you've avoided most battling versus other players. And there will be some amount of this you really just need to like do because it's so fast. So don't ignore that, right? But get the building speed, get the research speed. It's so good, man. GG. If you enjoyed the vid, throw a like on here, subscribe to the channel. I'll even give you a bonus tip, which is that you should try to time your upgrades with events. So outside of that like first week where you go completely ham, just gaining as much power as you can to get into a relevant alliance and a top alliance and stay there, then you want to hoard for events and then spend all your stuff in events. So there's tons of different events in this game that will reward you. And some of them you can even stack up together, which is kind of incredible. So for example, here's Alliance Mobilization. There's a lot of value to like hoarding things for this event and then using them potentially in this event. And you could even do this one combined with other events too, which is pretty legit. I've made dude, I've done 35 quests. I'm a lunatic. Wow. All right. Well, that's, I'm outing myself as being not casual. Yeah, no, subscribe to the channel. If this is the sort of guidance you're enjoying and getting value from, I hope that you did, and will consider throwing a like on the video as well. If you want to see some of my other like early game gameplay and reactions and thoughts, I'll have cards in the end screen designed just for you right over here and here. New player guides. Hope you'll go check them out. Until next time, you have fun smashing your enemies. Take care, everybody.